You ever have one of those weeks where it feels like life's just decided to dogpile you? Like from the very first blow, you just know it's not gonna stop? That was me the day I pulled into my own ranch, dead on my feet after spending 2 nights taking care of my sick aunt, and saw 50 complete strangers partying by my lake. My lake, behind some brand new, shiny iron gate that looked like it cost 5 grand easy. And the kicker? I didn't order it, didn't authorize it, didn't even know it was coming. Yet there it stood, planted right in the middle of my land like it owned the place. And there she was, Brenda Thompson, HOA president, local menace, walking disaster wrapped in a pantsuit, holding a clipboard like it was a sword. You think that's outrageous? Just wait. When I told her in no uncertain terms to take her damn gate down, she broke into these ridiculous fake sobs and dialed 911, shrieking to the dispatcher that I was threatening her life. The police showed up and she cranked the drama up to 11. Tears, shaking voice, whole 9 yards. That's when I knew I wasn't letting this go. That night I drew the line. But rewind a bit. A week before this HOA circus blew up, I'd started spotting odd things around the property. Beer cans tucked near the willow trees. Cigarette butts where they didn't belong. Footprints too far past the edge of the development. And that lake isn't just any waterhole. It's a 2-acre, fully engineered reservoir with a concrete dam, stocked with bass and catfish, built by my grandfather in the 60s. A proper legacy. We've had this 40-acre spread in our family for 3 generations, always separate from the new subdivision that popped up 5 years back like weeds on speed. I'd even put up no trespassing signs along the property line, clear as day. 2 days later, those signs vanished. That's when Walter, my neighbor, and an old-timer who worked for my granddad, came by, shaking his head, said that Brenda woman had been creeping around, snapping pictures of the lake like she was casing the place. New HOA president, he said, came from Oakwood after some scandal. I just laughed. Sounded like typical HOA nonsense. Then I got a certified letter, demanding I attend some urgent HOA meeting about shared resources. I almost tossed it in the trash, since I'm not even part of their HOA, but something in my gut told me to show up. Thank God I did, because earlier that day, while cleaning out Granddad's old shed, I found a box marked Lake 1960 important. Inside, faded permits stamped by the city and water rights contracts written in more legal jargon than a courtroom novel. I didn't know it then, but those papers were my ace in the hole. That meeting felt like walking into some Stepford cult. Cinnamon candles burning, everyone stiff-backed and glassy-eyed, staring at Brenda like she was royalty. Then she rolled out a full-blown PowerPoint, no joke, flashing pictures of my lake, calling it underused and a wasted resource. She argued it was unfair for one person to monopolize it. Then, she waved a petition around, claiming it had majority support. I counted 5 signatures. I stood up, hands trembling but voice steady, told them that Lake's been in my family 60 years, and they had no legal claim. Brenda just smiled and dropped a thinly veiled threat, saying her brother-in-law at City Hall supported her initiative, and that they had other ways to make it happen. People clapped. I walked out to a chorus of jeers, warning her loud and clear, put a gate on my land, and it's war. I wish I could say I expected what happened next. But no. I left Friday to help my aunt, figuring I'd be back Sunday. Thought nothing would happen over the weekend. But Brenda? She waited, like a vulture circling a carcass. I returned to a full-blown block party happening lakeside. 50 strangers grilling, drinking, acting like they owned the place. Like I'd hosted a damn community barbecue. I was seeing red. Called the cops, shaking with fury. But Monday morning is when it really hit the fan. 7 a.m., I hear engines and clanking. Step outside and there it is. A crew unloading heavy machinery, installing a massive iron gate 12 feet wide and 8 feet tall with Riverside Estates Community Lake, welded into the design like it belonged to them. And who's there playing foreman? Brenda, barking orders, waving papers, acting like she's the queen of the county. I marched over, told them to pack it up. The crew hesitated, probably smelled the lawsuit coming, but Brenda cut them off, shouting that she was the HOA president, that the project was approved and to keep going. Then she pulled out her phone, turned on the tears, and started filming me, sobbing to 911 again that I was harassing her. Cops showed up, separated us, listened to both stories. Then, after flipping through our documents, they gave me the worst answer I could have imagined. They said it was a civil matter, that I needed to take it to court. Brenda watched them leave with the smug grin of someone who thinks they've already won. And the crew? They finished the gate that same day. A gate on my... It felt like a slap in the face, like a statue built in honor of her arrogance. I sat in my kitchen, staring at an old photo of my granddad by the lake. His voice echoed in my head. Never let them take what's yours. He'd once stood his ground against developers and won. That memory stirred something in me, so I called Mike, my buddy who runs a construction crew, and by sundown, 15 men, 2 crane trucks, and a stack of precast concrete panels rumbled onto my property. We worked through the night, setting up thick, interlocking stone slabs, 10 feet tall, 3 feet wide, right behind Brenda's pricey gate. By sunrise, her $5,000 HOA gate now swung open to a 10-foot wall. When Brenda and her HOA crew showed up the next morning, her expression looked like a storm cloud swirling through a rainbow. She went ballistic, shouting about vandalism, calling the wall illegal, threatening me with lawyers and media outlets. I just sipped my coffee and said, "It's on my land. It's legal." That didn't go over well. She raged, and I calmly added, "No more gate orders accepted." She stormed off in a fury, shrieking about court dates and legal firestorms. Didn't take long for her to try spinning the narrative. That very afternoon, she went live on social media, tears and all, crying in front of the wall, calling me selfish and anti-community. The internet lit up. Some believed her, others didn't. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, a process server knocked on my door and handed me a $50,000 fine. Apparently, I'd violated HOA aesthetic standards. The kicker? I wasn't even part of the HOA. Panic set in. I started thinking I'd need to sell off heirlooms just to defend myself. Then came the twist. Walter, my old neighbor, showed up with a folder. Inside, photos of Brenda's pool and patio, built during COVID without permits and stretching way into the city's restricted zone. Suddenly, I had leverage. That same day at the store, I bumped into a fast-talking guy named Marcus Johnson, an attorney with a hatred for HOA power trips. He flipped through Walter's folder and smirked. "They can fine you, but you can flip the script. We checked city records, no permits on file. Even better, Brenda had bragged about it in a newsletter." Marcus agreed to represent me for free, on one condition: lifetime bass fishing rights. I shook on it. At the next HOA meeting, Marcus handed over our formal complaint. Walter, who still lived inside the HOA, later told me the board exploded. Brenda got a 30-day suspension, slapped with a $50,000 fine, and suddenly her support began crumbling. But Brenda wasn't done. She pulled her last card, her brother-in-law David, who worked at City Hall. The next morning, my gate was swarmed. People filming themselves being turned away, posting fake reviews about Arthur's Fishing Lake, tanking my reputation online. Then came the city notice, accusing me of running a commercial business on residential land. They warned of possible fines, even property seizure. I was about ready to cave. I stood in front of the wall, sledgehammer in hand, wondering if taking it down might buy me some peace. But Walter stopped me. He reminded me of how my grandfather once stood alone during the flood of '71, saving the dam in pouring rain. "You give them 1 inch," he said, "they'll never stop." That's when I dug back into my granddad's old box of papers. What I found changed everything. A contract from 1960. A binding agreement with the city, permanent tax exemption, no interference with lake use, emergency access only. Stamped, sealed, notarized. Marcus checked. Still valid. Legally airtight. The city council hearing was a showdown. Brenda arrived armed with charts, fake photos, dramatic speeches. Her little army chanting community first. But when my turn came, I laid out the real story. I showed them the contract. Proved Brenda had fabricated complaints. Marcus read every clause, slowly. The room fell silent. Then David, under pressure, finally broke, admitting he'd covered up the contract and helped manufacture the investigation. The city attorney called the whole thing off. Case dead. HOA fined $100,000. Brenda was permanently banned from ever holding a board position again. Her face was pale as chalk as she left, her supporters scattering like leaves in the wind. 2 weeks later, Walter and I sat by the lake, fishing rods cast. The wall still standing. Folks had started calling it the Freedom Wall. Someone even nailed up a wooden sign. Freedom isn't HOA approved. The city paid me $200,000 in back taxes. Marcus' case set a new precedent in court. Brenda moved 3 states away. The new HOA board apologized, cut me a check, and rewrote their bylaws to make sure no one like Brenda could ever pull this kind of stunt again. So now I ask, was building that wall too much or just enough? Drop your thoughts. Team wall, team gate, or team mind your own business. And if you ever find yourself toe-to-toe with a clipboard bully, just remember, freedom doesn't come stamped with HOA approval. And sometimes that's exactly the way it should be.